The Appalachian Mountains have a way of keeping secrets. They are old, silent, and sometimes they don't like intruders. That's what I told my friend Steve when he suggested we hike the forbidden Devil's Backbone Trail in West Virginia, but he just laughed. He wanted an adventure. We hired a local guide named Old Man Jed to take us up. He was a man of few words, chewing on a toothpick, his eyes constantly scanning the thick tree line. As we climbed higher, the air grew thinner and colder. A thick, unnatural fog rolled in, swallowing the world around us. It wasn't just fog. It felt heavy, like it was watching us. "We need to stop," Jed muttered, stopping dead in his tracks. "Trail ends here. I ain't going further." "Come on, Jed," Steve argued. "We're paying you to get us to the ridge." "Not for all the gold in Fort Knox," Jed whispered, pointing a trembling finger into the mist. "That's her land." Before we could ask who she was, Jed turned and bolted down the mountain, leaving us stranded in the encroaching darkness. With no guide and the temperature dropping, we stumbled forward until a shape loomed out of the fog. It was a cabin. Not a cozy log cabin, but a rotting wooden structure perched precariously on the edge of a sheer cliff drop. We forced the door open. It groaned like a dying beast. Inside, it was freezing. We lit a fire in the old stone hearth and looked around. The place looked like it had been abandoned in a hurry. Clothes were scattered. Dishes sat, covered in decades of dust. In the corner, I found a rusted metal strongbox. Inside, there was no money, just a stack of yellowed letters bound by twine. They were addressed to a man named David in New York, but they had never been mailed. The writer signed his name as Arthur Blackwood. Curiosity got the better of us. I opened the first letter and began to read aloud. Letter 1. Dear David, I have finally found it, the peace I needed. Sarah and I have moved to this cabin on the ridge. It is isolated, miles from the nearest town. Here, I can finally finish my novel. The silence is beautiful, though Sarah hates it. She says the wind sounds like voices. Letter 3. I don't know what is happening to me. I see her at night, a woman in a white dress, standing by the old wooden bridge that spans the gorge. She never speaks, just stares. Is she a ghost? Or is this mountain playing tricks on my mind? Sarah is suspicious. She thinks I'm meeting someone. If only she knew the terror I feel. Letter 6. The jealousy has driven Sarah mad. She believes the woman is real. Today I saw Sarah out by the gorge with an axe. She was hacking away at the supports of the bridge. She smiled at me. A cold, cruel smile. She thinks she's setting a trap for my lover. She thinks if the woman walks on the bridge, she'll fall to her death. I didn't stop her. God help me. I wanted to see what would happen. Letter 7. It happened last night. A scream. A sound that tore through the darkness and shattered my soul. It wasn't a ghost. I ran to the edge. The bridge was gone. Down in the mist, I heard nothing but the wind. Sarah was sleeping in the next room, a smile on her face. But the scream, it sounded like Sarah. I checked the bed. She was there. But then who fell? Or have we both already fallen? The final letter. We are not two people anymore. We are shadows. The bridge is gone, but I can still hear footsteps. Sarah knows. She knows I know. Tonight, I will take her for a walk. We will go to the edge where the bridge used to be. I will hold her close, and we will step into the fog together. Down, down into the dark. It's the only way to stop the screaming. I dropped the letter. The silence in the cabin was deafening. Steve, I whispered, we need to leave. Now. Suddenly, a sound came from outside. A low, mournful wail that rose into a shriek. It wasn't the wind. It was a woman's scream, echoing up from the bottom of the gorge. The cabin door slammed shut on its own. The fire died out instantly, plunging us into total darkness. In the blackness, I heard a floorboard creak right beside me, and a cold breath whispered against my ear. Did you hear her fall? We didn't wait. We smashed the window and scrambled out into the freezing night, running blindly down the mountain until our lungs burned. We didn't stop until we hit the main road hours later. We reported the cabin to the park rangers the next day. They looked at us strangely. There hasn't been a cabin on that ridge for 50 years. The ranger said, burned down in the 40 seconds. A couple named the Blackwoods lived there, jumped off the cliff together, or so the legend says. We never went back to the Appalachian Trail. But sometimes, when the wind howls at night, I can still hear that scream and the sound of a wooden bridge snapping in the dark. The GPS had surrendered to the static an hour ago, leaving them adrift in a sea of white fog. Outside, the skeletal branches of Appalachian oaks scratched against the Ford's windshield like bony fingers seeking purchase. Tom gripped the steering wheel tight enough to turn his knuckles the color of old parchment. "I told you," Jerry muttered, the glow of his phone illuminating his anxious face as he searched for a signal that didn't exist. "We should have stuck to the interstate." "Relax, Jer. It's a shortcut." Tom lied. His voice was steady, but a cold knot of dread was tightening in his gut. They were deep in Blackwood Ridge, now a stretch of wilderness the locals spoke of only in hushed tones, and never after sunset. The fog grew heavier, swallowing the road whole, until the headlights revealed a figure standing motionless in the center of the track. Tom slammed on the brakes. Tires screeched on the damp asphalt, the truck skidding to a halt mere inches from the stranger. The figure didn't flinch. It was an old man, ragged and worn, looking as if he had grown out of the forest floor itself. He shuffled to the driver's side window. His eyes were milky orbs, blind yet piercing, staring straight into Tom's soul. "Turn back," the old man rasped. His voice sounded like dry leaves crushing under a heavy boot. "The hollow binder walks tonight." Tom swallowed hard, trying to summon bravado. "We're just trying to get to the highway, old-timer." "There is no highway for you tonight, son. Not with the blood moon rising." The old man raised a gnarled finger, pointing toward the silhouette of a rotting cabin buried in the tree line. "Get inside. Bar the door. And whatever you do, do not cross the line of salt." The sheer weight of the man's command shattered their hesitation. Abandoning the truck, they sprinted for the cabin, the darkness nipping at their heels. Inside, the air smelled of dust and time. The old man followed with unnatural speed, pulling a leather pouch from his coat. He began to pour a thick, coarse line of salt across every threshold and windowsill, chanting in a tongue that sounded older than the mountains themselves, guttural, rhythmic, and terrifying. "What is this?" Jerry whispered, his voice trembling. "Protection," the old man replied, not looking up. "The hollow binder seeks a vessel. He has raised a revenant, a shell without a soul. He wants to trade its rot for your life." As if on cue, the light of day was extinguished. Night fell instantly, heavy and suffocating. Then, the silence broke. Thump, thump, thump. It started as a heartbeat in the earth, followed by a stench that invaded the cabin's sulfur and decaying meat. Scritch, scritch, scritch. Something dragged sharp, long nails down the wooden door. "Open up," a voice hissed from outside. It was soft, sweet, and impossible. It sounded exactly like Tom's mother. "Tommy, it's so cold out here. Let me in." Tom's eyes glazed over. He took a step forward, his hand reaching for the latch. "Don't listen," the old man barked, slamming his wooden staff onto the floorboards. The sound broke the trance. "It is a trick of the binder." The sweet voice dissolved into a guttural, demonic growl. The entire cabin shook violently. Through the cracks in the boarded windows, they saw a towering shadow with eyes burning like embers, standing beside a shambling, jerky corpse. The Revenant. The entity slammed against the door with the force of a freight train, but the salt line on the floor flared with brilliant blue light. Outside, the creature shrieked a sound of pure, unadulterated agony that shattered the glass of their lantern, plunging them into darkness. "He cannot pass the salt," the old man whispered, sweat glistening on his forehead in the moonlight. "Hold fast, boys. The night is long." For hours, the psychological torment did not cease. They heard the screams of loved ones, saw visions of their own gruesome deaths, and felt a graveyard chill penetrate their very bones. The hollow binder was not just attacking the door, he was attacking their minds. Tom and Jerry huddled in the corner, clutching rusted fireplace tools, praying for the sun. Just as the first gray light of dawn bled into the horizon, a final, ear-splitting howl echoed through the valley. And then, silence. The oppressive weight lifted from the air as if a heavy cloak had been removed. The old man slowly opened the door. The line of salt was scorched black but unbroken. Outside, deep claw marks gouged the thick wood, but the clearing was empty. "He has gone," the old man said, his shoulders slumping with exhaustion. "The sun burns his magic. Go now, and do not look back." They didn't need to be told twice. They sprinted to the truck, the engine roaring to life as if waking from a nightmare. As they sped away, tearing up the dirt road, Tom glanced in the rearview mirror one last time. The cabin was gone. Where it had stood, there was only an empty patch of woods and a swirling mist. Did that really happen? Jerry whispered, shaking uncontrollably. Tom stared at the road ahead, the morning sun, never looking so beautiful. I don't know, Jer, Tom said quietly, but I'm never taking a shortcut again. In the misty suburbs of Portland, Ryan and Mia lived a life that was almost too perfect to be true. Mia, a gentle kindergarten teacher, was the warmth in Ryan's world. But that warmth vanished the day she returned from Ravenswood. It wasn't sudden. It was a slow, creeping decay. After her grandmother's funeral in that forgotten town, the Mia who came back was different. The light in her hazel eyes had dimmed, replaced by a hollow, thousand-yard stare. The house, once filled with her laughter, grew silent and inexplicably cold. Even in the heat of July, Ryan found himself shivering, watching his breath mist in the bedroom air. The breaking point came on a rainy Tuesday. Ryan awoke to a sound that made his blood run cold, a low, rhythmic muttering cutting through the silence. Under the flickering light of the bedside lamp, he saw her. Mia sat rigid, her spine unnaturally straight, chanting in a language that sounded like grinding stones, ancient, guttural, and wrong. Mia, Ryan whispered, his hand trembling as he reached out. Her head snapped toward him with a bone-chilling speed. Those warm eyes were gone, swallowed by an endless pitch-black void. "He is coming," she hissed. The voice wasn't hers. It was deep, rasping, and dripping with a malice that didn't belong to the living. Then, as if a puppet string had been cut, she collapsed, leaving Ryan alone in the terrifying dark. Desperation drove Ryan to the edge of reason. Doctors offered pills, and friends offered skepticism, but Ryan knew the truth lay elsewhere. He turned to Madame Laveau, a renowned medium from the occult underbelly of New Orleans. Through a screen, Laveau's eyes widened in horror. "She is a vessel, Ryan. The hollow oak in Ravenswood. Did she go there?" "She did," Ryan admitted, a knot tightening in his stomach. "That tree is the prison of Malachi, a blood warlock banished a century ago." Laveau's voice trembled. "He is using her to claw his way back. That chanting? It is a binding ritual. If he finishes the final verse, your Mia will be lost to the void forever." There was no time to mourn. Armed with an ancient iron amulet sent by Laveau, Ryan drove Mia back to the source of the nightmare. Under the guise of a final visit to the grave, he brought her to the edge of the Ravenswood forest. As they neared the hollow oak, the very air turned violent. The wind howled like a wounded beast. Mia's body convulsed, arching unnaturally as her feet lifted off the ground. "You are too late, mortal," the voice boomed, echoing from the trees, mocking his feeble attempt. But Ryan stood fast against the gale. He didn't see a monster, he saw his wife. Holding the iron amulet high, he began to scream the counter-curse Laveau had taught him. Shadows peeled away from the trees, grabbing at his legs, whispering his deepest fears into his ears. "Let her go," Ryan roared, slamming the amulet against Mia's forehead. A blinding white light erupted, silencing the wind. A dark, shapeless shadow ripped itself from Mia's body with an ear-piercing shriek, dissolving into the night. Silence returned to the forest, broken only by Mia's ragged breathing as she fell into Ryan's arms. Mia woke up days later in a hospital, the memory of those weeks wiped clean. They left Oregon behind, trading the mist for the California sun, rebuilding the life that was almost stolen. Yet, on stormy nights, when the wind howled a little too loudly, Ryan would lie awake staring into the dark, praying that the whispers of Ravenswood were truly gone for good.